In this video, we'll be looking at how organisms can make use of the random drifting of particles, diffusion. So, take another look at the specification reference and then press play when you're ready to carry on. All matter in the universe is in motion because all molecules are vibrating. It's what causes gases to have a pressure. This constant vibration is known as Brownian motion after the scientist who first observed it. Now we can see it as a random zigzag motion in particles. Diffusion is a result of this constant vibration of molecules. It's why you might know something is burning even if you can't see the flames or feel the heat. Diffusion is where the particles move from where there are lots of them to where there are only a few of them. The particles move from a high concentration to a low concentration. This is an overall movement. Each individual particle is moving about at random. This random movement of individual particles causes a collection of particles to gradually spread out. The large concentration spreads out quicker than the lower concentration. So if you have a large concentration of particles next to a low concentration of particles, then the particles from the high concentration will spread out quicker than they spread out from the low concentration. So the overall movement will be from the high concentration into the low concentration area. Now, it's rarely a relevant issue in biological systems, but the temperature of particles has an effect on their diffusion. Particles with a higher temperature vibrate and move about more quickly, and that means they'll also spread about by diffusion more quickly. Okay, so a definition to learn. Diffusion is the passive overall movement of particles from where they are at a high concentration to where they are at a lower concentration. Passive because there's no energy involved. So let's have a look now at using diffusion to supply materials. Diffusion is a crucial process for cells because it allows substances to move in and out of cells without those cells using any energy. Now, very small organisms such as single-cell protocysts and bacteria have a very large surface area compared to their volume. This means that these organisms have a comparatively large surface to absorb materials, but only a small volume where those materials might be needed. So these organisms can rely on diffusion for all the oxygen that they need for respiration. The smaller an organism is, the greater the surface there is for each piece of volume or each unit of volume. Another way of saying this is that smaller organisms have a larger surface area to volume ratio. Now, one way to visualize this is to consider a cube-shaped organism. If this cube-shaped organism has a side length of 2 centimeters, then the surface across which it can absorb materials such as oxygen is 2 centimeters times 2 centimeters times 6 sides. That's 24 centimeters cubed. Its volume, however, is 2 times 2 times 2, or 8 centimeters cubed. Now that gives it a surface area to volume ratio of 24 to 8, or expressed more simply, 3 to 1. So for each 1 centimeter cubed of volume, there are 3 centimeters cubed of surface for absorbing. Now if we now cut this same organism into 2, then together they will have the same volume. But we've now exposed an additional 2 sides for absorbing material. Taken together, there's now 32 centimeters cubed of surface. So the surface area to volume of the organisms is now 32:8 or 4:1. So for every centimetre cubed of volume, there's now 4 centimetres cubed of surface for absorbing, not just 3. Smaller organisms have a larger surface area to volume ratio, and that helps with absorbing materials by diffusion. Now, let's take a look at the factors affecting diffusion. Now, for all organisms, diffusion is affected by several factors. Surface area. The larger the surface area is, the more diffusion can take place, and therefore the greater the overall rate at which it occurs. Diffusion distance. The further the molecules need to travel, the longer it will take, and so the lower the rate of diffusion. Concentration gradient. The larger the difference in concentration between where the molecules are coming from and where they're going to, the quicker the rate of diffusion. A useful way to remember this in exams is to draw this simple diagram. The red arrow on the diagram represents the diffusion gradient for particles moving by diffusion. The steeper the slope of the arrow, the quicker the particles will move down it. We can apply this diagram to lots of different situations. In this case, it's about the lungs, but it applies equally well to all exchange surfaces such as our intestines or fish's gills. Anything really. In the lungs, the diffusion gradient is maintained by making sure that as soon as the blood has absorbed oxygen, it's replaced by a fresh supply of deoxygenated blood, and that keeps the concentration in the blood at the absorbing surface as low as possible. Also, as soon as oxygen levels in the air inside our lungs drop, we take in a fresh breath. There's still a lot of oxygen in the air we breathe out, but taking in a fresh breath keeps the concentration of oxygen at the absorbing surface as high as possible. Alveoli and blood capillaries are also very thin. They're 1 cell thick, and that keeps the distance that oxygen needs to travel very short. As you can see from the diagram, even if the concentrations don't change, making the membranes thinner increases the diffusion gradient. Don't forget to download the resources for this video from the link in the description, especially the notes template. LearnFix has a lot more to offer than just the videos and the exam questions. The most popular aspect is the set of 12 online learning games we have for each topic. These help you practice your recall of the details. Now, when it comes to revision, LearnFix is there to help. After each section of the syllabus, there's a diagnostic quiz to help focus your revision efforts. You can then use a progress report to look back at the details for that particular topic, what went well and what needs more work. We're adding new features every month, so visit us at learnfix.com to find out more.